Dana White dropping some huge news last night announcing that Michael Chandler is no longer waiting out for the Conor McGregor fight and will instead be fighting Charles Olivera in a rematch from a fight that took place a couple years ago. They will be fighting in November at MSG on the Jon Jones versus Stipe card. Obviously, this is pretty huge news. Ever since Conor dropped out of their fight that was scheduled for June, people have been wondering if Chandler should move on. It's become a little bit of a meme at this point, right? How long is he going to wait for this guy? Is McGregor ever going to fight again? Chandler's kind of just wasting his career for this big payday, right? You know, he kind of had the same stance this whole time that he was going to wait for the McGregor fight. Obviously, it has gotten to a point now where, you know, he just has to move on with his career. Who knows where Conor's at? Who knows? Well, physically, we know Conor is all over the place, right? But who knows if the guy's ever going to fight again? As a personal friend of Conor, of the McGregor team, nothing but the best to our guy there. Obviously, I've been sitting on this news for quite a while, but, you know, sworn to secrecy a little bit. But now the masses are all informed. Chandler has posted a reaction to the news. He's come out and said that he still wants the McGregor fight. He just needs to move on and get a fight in. He's obviously, this fight's been in the works for damn near 2 years now, the last time he fought. You know, he just kind of wants to stay active. He's in his late 30s. He probably doesn't have too much longer in the UFC, so he wants to capitalize and get big fights in while he can. So, obviously, a lot going on here, but the actual fight, a little bit strange. So, Charles Olivera, I remember people were saying, should this guy be fighting Arman for an interim lightweight belt? In a rematch that we probably didn't really need to see, right? Because Islam is injured. They were saying that they would probably do a lightweight title fight. Dana has come out since and said that they're not doing an interim fight, which I guess means Islam will not be out for that long. But if you're Oliveira, a little bit interesting of a fight to take. We know he still wants to fight for a title. We know he still wants to fight top contenders, work his way back into the title picture because of, you know, right now, obviously coming off a loss to Arman. He's kind of on the outside looking in, so maybe he could take these fun fights. But this is a little bit of an interesting situation. You know, Chandler is calling this a number one contender fight. He says, if I win, I got my options. I could fight Islam for the belt, or I could fight McGregor. And he's kind of said he would fight McGregor instead of a title shot. So I guess, you know, you understand why he has to take this fight, because he hasn't fought in so long. He still wants to be in the mix. He probably is tired of making a meme out of himself. If you're going to say that you would still fight McGregor after, I feel like this is just a pointless fight. Like, what if you go out? I mean, I'm going to probably pick Charles Olivera in this fight. Obviously, Olivera is a very dangerous guy, a guy who already knocked him out a couple years ago. So we're not going to act like this is going to be an easy win for Michael Chandler. But either way, you know, you go into this fight as kind of a lose-lose. Like, you already had a fight booked with McGregor, a fight that's been in the works for like a year and a half at this point, almost 2 years. So you're going to go put it all on the line against one of the best lightweights of all time, a guy who's already knocked you unconscious. You're going to go fight that guy. And then what does that get you? A rematch with Conor McGregor, a rematch of a fight that never happened, a rebooking, we'll call it. You know, you've been critical of this guy for so long, saying, when are you going to come out? When are you going to fight me? Yada, yada, yada. You pulled out, yada, yada, yada. Like, dude, it's Conor McGregor. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He has more money than probably the rest of the UFC roster combined. The fact that he's even considering fighting is a little bit crazy to me. So he's fighting someone else. So he has moved on a little bit. But in my opinion, he should just say, you know, like, to hell with that fight. Like, he's still, the first thing he says in his announcement is, I still want to fight McGregor. Like, dude, fucking move on. Like, you're about to go fight a very dangerous guy, one of the best lightweights of all time. So I don't need to explain to you how dangerous the guy is. You learned firsthand. So for him to still be saying, like, oh, I still want that McGregor fight is a little bit strange to me, because if you go out and you knock out Charles Olivera, you go out there and you finish Charles Olivera on MSG on a Jon Jones retirement card, so which will have a lot of eyes on you, and we could still say, you were like, okay, like, Chandler came out of this thing on top. The McGregor thing brought a lot of eyes and attention to him that he wouldn't otherwise have, right? He even said, just waiting for this fight, doing the Ultimate Fighter, the whole lead up to this McGregor card brought more attention on me than I would have had in, if I continued to fight these top 5, top 10 lightweight contenders. So if he goes out and he kind of parlays that into another huge fight with Charles Olivera in a huge spot at Madison Square Garden on a John Jones card, and you go out there and finish Olivera, a big star in the UFC, and then you just go right back to calling out McGregor, I don't know. I think that's embarrassing. And for Conor McGregor, I'm still not sure if he'll ever fight again. I've been unconvinced of this. The whole build up to, UFC 303 was his return, I believe. Obviously, it doesn't end up happening. And now we're sitting here, if you're McGregor, you're not going to give Chandler another shot. McGregor's already come out, thrown out his crazy tweets, essentially saying Chandler's ducking him, Chandler's running, which is hilarious. I mean, for all you can say about McGregor, he is hilarious. But yeah, so if you're McGregor, if you are going to fight again, which again I think is a big if he is, I don't think he's going to give Chandler another shot. Like, even if Chandler goes out there and beats Olivera, I just don't see Conor giving him another chance. I think Conor is probably a little disrespected by this. You never know what's real with Conor, because this whole time he's been talking about how he wants to fight. Give me a date, give me a date, give me a date. I don't know if him or Dana are the most trustworthy cats, but they seem to be on very opposite ends here. So still a huge fight announcement. And what I will say, so another fight that people were talking about for Charles Olivera was Dan Hooker. Are we going to see a Dan Hooker versus maybe a Justin Gaethje now? Because we know Hooker deserved one of these big fights, one of these top 5 guys, as he is now a top 5 fighter. So I'm interested to see what they do with him. The 2 names that were coming up after he beat Gamrot about a month ago, the names that everyone was throwing out there was Justin Gaethje and Charles Olivera. So one of those names now off the table. Let's see if we can get the Hangman in there with Justin Gaethje. And another thing about this announcement, so obviously we've seen Dana say a million different things about John Jones these last couple months. Pardon my nasally voice here. I'm a little congested. But when his most recent run-in with the reporters a couple of weeks ago, when they were kind of like, well, you actually haven't announced, because Dana was saying that John does have a fight booked. And they kind of called it. They're like, well, we know he's fighting Stipe, but you haven't officially and made that announcement. Everyone says it's going to be in November at MSG, but you haven't officially announced it. And Dana was kind of caught in another lie and was like, I don't announce the main event until the whole card has been announced, obviously, like we always do, which has never been done before. That's actually quite the opposite. They announce the main event and then they announce the rest of the fights. But we see a couple announcements recently of UFC 309 of this MSG November card. This is being called the co-main. So here's my prediction. I think tonight at UFC Noche, UFC 306 at the Sphere, obviously a lot of bells and whistles for this card. I think they will announce John Jones versus Stipe at Madison Square Garden in November. Charles Olivera versus Michael Chandler, MSG in November. I got Olivera, but I'm excited for that one. Conor, hopefully we see you in 2025.